Hello folks, this is Mr. Overdorf coming to you from the landscape design classroom, and today I'm going to talk to you about controlling turf, weeds, diseases, and insects. So what's the main idea here? What must be done to control weeds, diseases, and insects that can be harmful to turf grasses? So good turf maintenance, that promotes thick, healthy turf, chokes out weeds, and the most important weed control, providing optimum growing conditions, weeds choked by healthy sod, proper cultural practices in a timely manner to favor good grass growth. And like it says here, with weeds being choked out by healthy sod, the healthier your grass is, the less likely you're going to have weeds in it. There's a lot of different methods you can do with that we'll talk a little bit here. That can be done through fertilizers, herbicides, fungicides, a lot of different stuff that is readily available through your salespeople, either for different companies based on fertilizing, turf care, and there's a lot out there. I always suggest Site One Landscape Supply and Advanced Turf Grass as top two to work with on that. So possible weed sources, percentage of grass seed, there's always going to be a small percentage, maybe even 0.5% of weed seed in that. So sod with seeds, or sod with weeds. Topsoil manure, typically in topsoil you're not going to find a lot of weed seed, but in manure you're definitely going to find generally more weed seeds in there. But manure is extremely beneficial to your to growth of your grass. So if chemicals are needed, identify the weeds, select the correct chemical, attack weeds at susceptible growth stages, follow safety rules, and always read the label. Identification of the weed is crucial here, because if you identify the wrong weed, you might buy a product that isn't for it. So if you're buying a selective type of product, you definitely want to know what's identified as. And if you can't identify it, take a picture of it and send it to your salesperson from that fertilizer or pesticides company, because they typically will be able to identify that and get you on your way with that. Weed identification by appearance. There's broadleaf weeds, grassy weeds, and sedges. We're going to talk a little bit about each of those. Broadleaf weeds, these are leaves wider than grassy weeds. So you have a thin blade of grass. If it's wider than that thin blade of grass, then that is a broadleaf weed. The main central vein in these is dividing the leaf in half, and then smaller veins forming a net-like pattern. Distinctive leaf shapes and arrangements. Colorful flowers. And looking at grassy weeds, these leaves are long and narrow, veins running parallel, and they typically get longer quicker than a regular grass. So no colorful flowers on these, and identified by the way they spread, leaf characteristics, and the seed heads that come out. If you are at the point where you are getting seed heads, then that's not good, because once you cut those back, those seed heads can get into your soil and start growing even more weeds. So sedges, these are grass-like plants, often found in wet ground, solid triangular stems, narrow grass-like leaves, and spikelets of inconspicuous flowers. So if you look at these really close, like this yellow nut sedge here, you'll see this tiny little flowers growing on it. Sometimes you'll even notice like the grass can be like kind of bent, growing in like weird types of patterns. Typically those will be a different type of sedge. Up here in Pennsylvania, nut sedge is pretty common. So, and they do make products for that. That is a selective herbicide that just takes out that nut sedge. Now, typically nut sedge in itself isn't going to, it's not going to last very long, maybe like 6 weeks, but being able to get that out of the way will definitely improve the look of your customer's lawn. So weed ID by life cycle, summer annuals, winter annuals, biennials, and perennials. So let's take a look at some summer annual weeds. 1 year life cycle, start growing in spring or early summer, producing seed in mid to late summer, and killed by freezing fall temperatures. So examples of this would be broadleaf, like a mallow or purslane, or a grassy one like a crabgrass. Now these will come back year after year if not treated, but they do go dormant. So winter annual weeds, 1 year life cycle, germinating in late summer or fall, active spring growth and flowering. Some examples of this would be some broadleaves like chickweed and bindweed, or grassy ones, kind of like a cheatgrass. So if you take a look at the picture at the bottom right, you have a picture of some filled bindweed, and you'll notice the flower coming off that being white. Biennial weeds, these are a 2-year life cycle. First year is vegetation, and the second year is flowers and seeds. Some examples of this are mallow and yellow rocket, and may live longer depending on the weather. So you can see it down here in the picture in the bottom right is a photo of yellow rocket. So if you see something that looks like that, then that's probably what it is. So perennial weeds, life cycle of 3 years or more. Some examples of these would be dandelions, wild violet, broadleaf plantain, and creeping wood sorrel. Some grassier ones being orchard grass, quack grass, or like yellow nutsedge. So these are like the perennial weeds are the bad ones because, or the tougher ones to get rid of because they have established root systems underground, and you definitely want to spray those. And even into the next year, you'll probably have to spray them again. So sometimes you just have to get in there, dig them out, and hope for the best on that, and just make sure you're continually spraying and utilizing your fertilizing program. Herbicide types, you have pre-emergence, pre being before, prevents seed germination and used for annuals and some biennials. Post-emergence, or after the plant is already out of the ground, hence post, controls already growing weeds and often used to spot control weeds. So some herbicide applications. Read it and follow all label directions, as I always say, depending on what kind of weed you're trying to treat. There's definitely different ways to do that. As you can see, there is a drop spreader here at the bottom that you can treat with. But you want to make sure that you apply evenly. And there, like I was saying, there's many different ways, such as wet, dry, etc. So you might be using a spot sprayer or maybe even a calibrated spreader. Disease control. Healthy turf resists disease. Fungi causes many diseases. Most fungi need high humidity, moisture, and certain temperature. And looking at cultural practices for controlling fungal diseases, it's improved drainage, pruning for better air circulation, adequate nitrogen, aerifying turf, watering only in the morning, and raising your mower height. So depending on what type of weeds you have in your yard and what kind of diseases you have, the lower you grow it, the more likely that fungal disease is going to establish and spread. So cutting a little bit higher can be better. As I always say, you want to cut to about 3 inches height or above. So go with what your customer wants. But if they're saying cutting under 3 inches, I would definitely recommend trying to get them to boost up that height a little bit just to keep fungi out of the ground. So using fungicides, you want to identify the disease just like anything else. Fungicides are expensive and toxic. Protective equipment may be needed. Read and follow label directions. And just looking back here a second, anytime you're using a fungicide, pesticide, herbicide, any of that type of stuff, you want to make sure you're wearing the appropriate PPE. There is a lot of stuff out there linking to cancer at the moment if you're not wearing the proper PPE. But if you wear the proper stuff, you'll never have to worry about it. So always wear proper PPE. If that's long pants, rubber gloves, make sure you're reading your label because it will tell you on that label exactly how dangerous that is. So if you take a look at the label here on the right, it says immediate concerns, caution. If it says caution, you definitely want to have some kind of pants on with that full length pants, not shorts. And anytime you're using sprays, unlined rubber gloves. So make sure you read the label, and it'll also help you out for first aid in case you get something in your eye, how to treat that if you need to go to the hospital. I mean, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides can definitely be dangerous for your health. Insect control, the best offense is a good defense, and that will create a healthy lawn. So you're fertilizing putting down different herbicides, fungicides. That will help in the long run, but always read the label because you don't want to go too far with it. Identify problem insects. Most insecticides are toxic, requiring protective gear. Wear the proper PPE. Read and follow label directions. Aerifying, not for normal healthy turf in average soil. May be needed if soil is compacted or waterlogged. And then remove soil cores to a depth of 6 to 8 inches. I actually recommend aerifying your lawn with an aerator probably every fall, once a year, maybe once every 2 years, because getting that air into the ground is definitely going to promote a better, healthier turf. Sometimes I also recommend overseeding, but it also depends on how your yard's looking. And most lawn companies will come out and take a look at your yard for free and give you an estimate on how much it would cost to do that. But talking with them can also tell you exactly what you need to do if you want to do it yourself. So that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions at all, you can give me a call down here in the landscape design classroom or contact me through Canvas. But have a great day, folks. Thank you.